Welcome to Joy Asonye Live this beautiful evening. Well, we all know that President Bola Tinubu has reshuffled his cabinet, introducing 7 ministers who have been reshuffled, introducing 5, and so much has been going on. And Nigerians are torn as to where are we when we talk about cutting cost of governance, although the president also sent a directive reducing the convoy size of ministers and chief executives as a strategic step to curb Nigeria's high governance costs. The question is that enough? Was it necessary to once again, after that declaration he made some time ago, establish the Ministry of Livestock? Isn't that also another political move, as some people have called it? That's a conversation we'll be having. First of all, reshuffling the cabinet, how is it perceived? Do Nigerians find that a good thing or not? My guest today is an APC chieftain. He also doubles as the national coordinator, APC National Stability Project. He is Honorable Adamu Dauda. He's a regular here on the show. Welcome once again.
Thank you very much, Joy. It's always a pleasure.
Oh, the pleasure is all mine. The pleasure is all mine.
You know, I do. In the past, we've had very interesting
conversations. I'm hoping today we do that as well.
Engagement. So every time I receive the call from Joy, I'm always excited to to type from your inquisitive mind of a journalist. Well, very critical and brilliant journalist we're having you. And,
thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Well, having established that, we would go for a short break and return and get into the crux of the matter, which is cutting cost of governance amid cabinet reshuffle. Is that something that would see the light of day? Would these ministers also understand the president's stand on trying to cut cost of governance? We'll be back after this short break. Welcome back from that. Like I said earlier, Honorable Adamu Dauda is right here in the studio. He's an APC chieftain. So yeah, we're going to be talking a lot about where the APC government is taking us right now. Honorable, first of all, we woke up to that news of the president reshuffling his cabinet of 45, now making it about 48 now, with the Ministry of Livestock. He also reshuffled a lot. And did you see it coming? I know Nigerians had agitated for that, but that reshuffle, did you see it coming?
First of all, like I said earlier, it's always a pleasure to be here. President Bola Tinubu's recent cabinet reshuffles underscores his determinations, if I will put it that way, to adapt to to conform to the yearnings of Nigerians. There has been some, call for reshufflement, and what have you. And that tells you that Mr. President has listening ears, and the strategy he puts, in place, while Nigerians were expecting to see something, but he sees through the agitations or the call, you understand, and based on the information his team was able to, or were able to gather, they could identify specific demography and specific needs that need to be, addressed. And that was why the emphasis basically were on social related, issues. And because the issues they are socially related, the introduction of few other ministries, conform it to those agitations. Like, for instance, before before he reshuffled the cabinet, he introduced the Ministry of Livestock.
But that was on a very casual note. He was like,
no, it was not. It just tried.
His words were actually, I think we need a Ministry of Livestock.
No. You see, that's what I say.
Like,
the president's team and Mr. President had seen through the needs of Nigerians, and he was able to pick out what are the fundamental issues. Why are we having the issues that we are having? He is a very intelligent, calculated, strategic person. And that was why, while the agitation and the noise was going on, he wants us to find the rudiments, the genesis of our issues. And you know, largely, one of the major issues that is hitting the policy in Nigeria since independence has always been a crisis between the farmers and the herders. Right? And for a president to come and say, look, I have this very brilliant blueprint of addressing this issue without necessarily creating more, okay. You understand? It is better I create a ministry that will focus on the needs of these herders. You understand? And that's what brought about the introduction of the Ministry of Livestock. And if you look at that, is a very fundamental segment of our social inequality or disparities. Majority of our issues are socially related, and that was why the president introduced the Ministry of Livestock. And then the minister was not announced up until when the cabinet is reshuffled. And then we got a brand new minister to head that ministry. But by and large, I think there was an SA to the president on livestock that had already started the work of that particular ministry. Secondly, in order to also confirm and address some of this yearning, he introduced, if you know it very well, like everywhere, the regional related issue has been a serious issue in the front burner.
For a very long
and
time.
That tells you the kind of president that we have. To address that issue, he also introduced the Ministry of Regional Development. You understand? Now, the focus of the Ministry of Regional Development is that just like our socio-economic related issues, there are issues that are unique to each geopolitical zones.
Okay.
You understand? And if you remember, initially we had the Niger Delta Development Commission, right? We had the Northeast Development Commission. The reasons for those two commissions were to actually, identify the needs of the regions and then provide solutions and bring resources that can easily be channeled to addressing those the issues. Now we also have on the table of the Senate the Ministry of Southeast Development Commission. The North Central Development Commission is also coming on board. He just assigned to the Ministry of Northwest Development Commission. So all these commissions are going to be under the Ministry of Regional Development. And this is because we've been able to identify and understand that Nigerians' needs are not all the same.
Okay.
They are unique depending on which geopolitical zones you actually came from. And you must commend Mr. President for this great initiative. Okay. And if you could remember also, we're still talking about social welfare, social intervention and addressing, the social inequalities and gap. The Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs also had its own little, drama earlier, and the president has also brought in a very interesting fellow, the former, the candidate for the APC during the gubernatorial election in Plateau State. Yeah. A very interesting fellow. So you can see, and understand the way the president look at things. He doesn't look at things on the peripheries. He looked at things from the very, you know, basics.
Let's talk about these regional development commissions that are now being established. They are all, everybody seems to be agitating. I can understand that there are peculiarities to the challenges every region faces. But what is it necessary if the government is serious about cutting cost of governance? Don't we have governors with, we have the entire democratic structure from the local government to address these things? Some of us were also asking that the Niger Delta doesn't need a commission and then a ministry. So if we are serious about cutting cost of governance, and we were surprised that the president is assenting to having regional development. Do you think he's really serious about cutting cost of governance? Today, earlier, I think I read where the former President Olusegun Obasanjo criticized the government spending as one of the reasons why we are seeing our revenue dwindle, the cost of governance. Everybody seems to be talking about cost of governance, but are we really serious?
For me, I think, like I said earlier, we have a very interesting fellow as a president. He's very bold, he's very determined, and a lot of people have tried some of the initiatives that he's, you know, boldly taken and actually failed. Most of them couldn't even see it through. For the first time, he looked at issues, you know, based on the needs of the people. And then he tried much as possible to assemble some of the best, brilliant hands to actually manage those issues. And if you remember historically, why Nigerians are not seeing the effects of some of these transformations immediately is because these things are supposed to be, you know, be felt in these are long time measures that are being taken, that have been neglected for a very long time. When it comes to prudency and spending and government spending and what have you, if you remember, I don't know if you can recall from the cabinet reshufflement, there are some ministries that have been scrapped. Including the Ministry of Niger Delta that you're actually talking about, and sports. This basically to tell you that he is also worried and concerned about cost of governance. If you remember, before the cabinet reshufflement, he also gave a directive on foreign trips. Everyone knows that foreign trips in the past had been like different kinds of adventures on his own, where government officials, you know, venture into to get away with obstacles without necessarily bringing the value. So he said, no, look, if you do not have business going on any international, you know, trip, you shouldn't go. And for God's sake, why should you carry people who are not adding value to a trip that is supposed to be value driven? So it has to be, you have to be focused. So he makes sure that that is being reduced and it has been put into effect. Right. And then secondly, just about few days ago, if I could recall the exact date, he has also given a directive to all the ministers and government agencies and parastatus heads that they should reduce the number of vehicles in their own convoy to the minimum of 3. You know, it's only in Nigeria you will see the head of an agency with about, you know, 5 policemen, 3 DSS and what and what, you know, and each and every one of those people require you to actually finance, you know, their welfare. You must look after them. If you are traveling with them, you must provide them with escort. You must. So at the end of the day, we don't have that luxury of of security to be guiding politicians. Meanwhile, we have larger citizens that need to be looked after. So the president was looking carefully. You know, he doesn't want to just pronounce something without thinking through it. He thought through it, and then he felt that the best way to actually address, you know, prudency in government spending is to actually find those, you know, flamboyant and unnecessary things that are attached, you know, to governance, and then cut them off. And so that, I think, for me, it was a commendable effort done by the president, and the ministry, the introduction of the Ministry of Regional Development is not a misplaced priority.
It is actually now going to have all those development commissions.
Exactly. Those commissions are going to be managed under the ministry. That ministry is going to be, if I'm not mistaken, the largest with the most daunting responsibility because of the peculiar challenges that we have. It's not a duplication of it is basically what was supposed to be there from day one. You understand? To address our peculiar and unique issues and challenges because of our demographies, because of our cultural background, the language which we speak, the religion we practice, even from our dressing. You know, even from the way we even conduct marriages or naming ceremony or burials, you can find some differences. So if we have a commission that is responsible for identifying the needs of the people based on their specific demand, and be there to conform to it, I don't think it's a misplaced priority. In fact, it's actually helping to bring governance closer to people, in addition to, you know, the introduction of the local government autonomy.
Okay, so recently the Senate approved 15% from the Consolidated Revenue Fund as source of funding for the newly created zonal development commissions, and the approval followed consideration adoption of reports of the Senate Committee on Special Duties on the bills establishing this commission. My question now would be, where are we setting the pace from? We have seen the Niger Delta Commission. Would you say, let me not assume, but would you say, having read about the activities of the Niger Delta Commission, the controversies that sometimes we also record in that commission, that it has served its purpose of regional development? And is that what we are setting as the pace, or something that gives us a policy direction for other commissions as well?
I do not have the statistics of the number of projects that have been physically achieved through the Niger Delta Development Commission. But I can tell you, with all sense of humility, the establishment of Niger Delta Development Commission has helped tremendously in addressing many challenges of that particular region, even including the agitation for resource control. You know, our production, you know, of crude and the militancy had dropped tremendous. In fact, I doubt if we still have any militancy activities going on in the Niger Delta region. So,
and you give credit to the establishment of the Niger Delta Commission? Yes,
because the region itself, even before independence, and I think, is it before independence or from the what do you call it, of the discovery of oil from the Niger Delta, even as at then with the colonial master and what, they knew that this discovery is likely going to come with some certain drawbacks, particularly with the environment. They proposed the establishment of Niger Delta as far, you know, as far as that particular time. We never saw that up until the government of President Musa Yar'Adua, I think, you know, and then Jonathan, and then by extension, you know, the other government that follows, up until the president felt that the ministry, you know, for Niger Delta Development Commission and development, you know, should be put under, you know, the new Ministry of Regional Development. You understand? So for me, even if you look at militancy alone, you know, you could give credit to the initiator of the Niger Delta Development Commission. And you know, again, with some of the issues that we were also confronted with, it's the insecurity from the Northeast development. I mean, from the Northeast region. Right. And you can clearly see that the activities of Boko Haram and other menace of what do you call it, insecurities, had already put in the Northeast in a very serious economic and social challenges. So the introduction of Northeast Development Commission was also not a misplaced one, because after all those activities, there has to be rebuilding, rehabilitations, and reconstruction of some of these places that have been destroyed. You understand? So for you to achieve something meaningful, you must give a dedicated, you know, attention through a commission or a ministry, you know, to be able to achieve the things that you want to achieve in those regions after, you know, they've been affected by some of those challenges that we actually mentioned. So the creation of the Regional Development Ministry, it is a welcome development, and a kudos to Mr. President for this wonderful and great social intervention.
Okay, so let's talk about this Consolidated Revenue Fund that would contribute 15% into the development of this commission. Do you think state governors, you know how our state governors are, they receive all sorts of allocations, and I don't know if state governments, in your opinion, what do you think? Would they be willing to contribute these monies? Do you see them kicking with this whole idea, 15% from the Consolidated Fund? Do you see them willingly doing it?
I don't think it's going to be a big deal for the
state government.
For the state government, okay. Because from the from the inception of this administration, we have seen a causal relationship between the presidency and the state governors. They have been very, very supportive. I think this is the first regime that we had without much confrontation between the state government and the presidency. They have a very harmonious relationship, and I'm sure the president did not just on his own introduce that kind of measure. I'm sure there must have been a series of engagement and stakeholders engagement, you know, to be able to actually come to that particular agreement that, okay, for us to be able to achieve a meaningful development in this new ministry, we have to have a pool of funds that can be channeled into the development of some of these regions. And right. The best possible way, without actually making anybody feel discomfort, you know, we have to take it, you know, from the revenue, what do you call it, that you mentioned.
Okay, I think it's a good time to go for a short break. We still have so much to discuss, talking about cutting cost of governance in Nigeria, the reshuffling of the president's cabinet, and so much more we'll discuss when we return from this short break. Stay with us. You would also have an opportunity to reach us and tell us what you think about the governors or the government's poise on cutting cost of governance. Do you believe it? Is it something we should take with a pinch of salt? We'll be right back. Welcome back from that short break. Now, like we have established, the President Bola Tinubu reshuffled his 45-man cabinet, naming 7 new ministers, sacking 5 and reassigning 10 others to new portfolios. Well, how did he come to retain others? There were several who weren't touched by this. Nigerians are also asking, how did he pick the ones who should leave? That came as a surprise for some of us. There were some who we thought, especially the Ministry of Women Affairs, where we thought, isn't this the kind of initial grad we want the president to have? Well, my question is to my guest who is still seated here. Like I told you earlier, Honorable Adamu Dauda is right here in the studio. He is an APC chieftain. So is this the APC way? What happened? Why were some untouched, some reassigned, and others having to be sacked? And I'm picking my words very carefully. What happened there?
Interesting. You see, if you observed and look critically very well at the way the president operates, is that you could see that he is uncared about the way people, think based on their, almighty opinion. Okay. You understand? I mean, he respects opinions of people, of the opinion of the majority, and that's why when the call and the agitation was right, I mean, was put before him, and he looked at the time and then he felt that this very time is right for him to have his first reshuffle. He did that after carefully, reviewing the performance of those ministers. Okay. And we have the head girl Hadiza Bala, who was the chief monitoring and performing advisors of the president. She followed, and Nigerians also followed these distinguished personalities that were brought on board to support the president team. And from the opinion of people coming left and right, and also putting a performance indicator mechanism in place for the minister's performance to be measured, they came into a conclusion that there is a need for some ministers to be booted out, while some, based on their own performance and continuity, to be retained. And if you observe as well, like every other person, you know that there are ministers that are the backbones of the president's initiative. For instance, the Minister of Works, His Excellency David Umahi. From day one, you could tell that this guy, he came ready to work. He's an he's a A+ rating guy. He was going from one place to another. Every trunk A roads in Nigeria. He took his time. Took a tour. Yeah, he took a tour, and then he came up with the volume and the responsibility that is before him. And then he sat down, and then he also looked into the ministry itself, and review the workers and begin to put them on their toes. From day one, you know that this guy is aiming at getting the best results. The same thing with Wike,
that's the
Minister of FCT. Everyone in Abuja today will tell you, after El-Rufai, the next is, there is no any other minister in between. Is actually, Wike. So the only person you can actually compare Wike with, as far as FCT is concerned, since the creation of FCT, is actually El-Rufai and Wike. And we are clearly seeing Wike even exceeding expectation, performing far better than You know what is actually making El-Rufai's performance look like a child play. Do you understand? You understand? And then we saw the brilliant Tunji Ojo. You know, he came
with his own reforms as well.
Exactly. The Interior Ministry was whole, and things were done. You can see the transformations going on. You know, the visa, the passports.
One that he cleared a backlog of 6,000 in 2 weeks.
Do you understand?
That Nigerians had never seen.
Exactly. So you can see these are guys from day one. When they came on board, they came well prepared. The same thing goes to the Minister of Information, you know, Malagi, and the rest of the ones that, and the same thing with also, with all fairness to the minister, the two ministers of Defense. You know, things, you know, like you said, in every development period, you find zigzag mode or crisis mode. Yes, sometimes from time to time, there are some pocket of insecurity coming up, but everyone knows that the two Minister of Defense also came prepared. You know, when the issue was very hot in the Northwest, you know, the president, under the president directive, the ministers and the security chiefs all had to be relocated, you know, to those regions where this insecurity is being affected. And today, you hardly hear much, you know, from even the kidnapping. I don't know, before Nigerians think that, okay. But for me, it's the
reports are not as bad as it
was initially. Do you understand? So that tells you that, you know, those who have been retained were not just retained on the basis of the fact that they are close to Mr. President. No, they have shown a first-class performance. Chief David Umahi is an excellent administrator who has been a governor.
But there you go again. You have mentioned but about, say, 5, 4.
I know, but again, that's what I'm really just giving you.
Perform.
Yes, because
my question now is,
time will not permit us to actually go to the one after the other. But I can tell you.
My question to be: are you surprised that, in spite of having sacked 5 ministers from his cabinet, Nigerians are saying just 5? I thought we were going to do an overhaul. Nigerians were expecting more. In fact, some elder statesmen made it very vocal about many more who should go.
Okay, like I said it to you earlier, the president's reasons could be driven by 2 or 3 things.
Right.
You know, performance and continuity. You understand? Performance goes, you know, both ways. Those who perform and those who did not meet up. You understand? And then those who have initiated, you know, a breakthrough reforms that need continuity to be able to see what they have started and they are all brilliant, you know, initiatives. And if I'm not mistaken, those were some of the reasons why, you know, most of them were not asked to leave, because they have started something, and then you don't bring somebody on board and you already know that the damage done in this country is just something else. What we are seeing is actually, you know, the tips of the iceberg. That's what we are actually even seeing. If they are to open up to you the damage that had been done and what the president had actually inherited, you will pity the president. So, you know, yes, there is need to reshuffle, but again, you have to be smart about it. You understand? You don't just go, you know, sacking your ministers, you know, just because people say you should sack them.
But if they do not work,
that's what I said. There are reforms that take time.
Okay.
Yeah, continuity matters, you know, as well as performance.
But did it surprise you that Nigerians were asking for more ministers to be sacked? Is this something?
I'm a Nigerian,
right?
So it is in our nature that we ask for more, and that's why for you to take the mantle of the leadership of this country, you have to be well prepared. Do you understand? And don't see the criticisms of your fellow citizen men as a drawback. See it as, you know, a stimulus or such to, you know, or see that an impetus for you to do greater things, you know, because that's the expectation. The job is not meant for the weak. It's meant for the strong and the bold. And we have these combined traits, you know, in both the president and his vice president. You understand? So I will want to be like every Nigerian too and ask some of these, you know, questions. But they have their right to ask these questions because the president and his team are actually servants of the people. So if the people who have, you know, employed them through the ballot felt that they are not doing what they should do or what they are employed to do or voted to do, they have the right to ask. But you have to be constructive in your criticism, and you also have to understand that in as much as you can establish the responsibilities between the rule and the rule through social contract, you must also understand that some of this thing takes time. You understand, for you to be able to see the impact. And challenges are global, and it's not only about Nigeria. There are a lot of other countries that we depend on, or that they depend on us, that are going through the same rough patch. Do you understand? So you have to be careful even in taking steps, because you never can tell the changes, you know, that can happen when you touch one aspect. They call it you know, I forgot the word anyways. So for me, you must understand that if you want to change the system, you must take it step by step. You also must carry people along, listen to their opinion, but that not necessarily that you must do as everyone is saying. You just listen through, you know, the noise, and then filter it out, and that was what the president did.
Well, let's look at the seven nominees, the seven nominees that the president has sent. Let's look at their portfolio. I mean, we might not be able to get into all of that, time will not permit us, but when you look at the likes of Bianca Ojukwu, there's the like of Dr. Nentawe Riowatda, there's the Muhammadu Meigari, there's Dr. Jumoke Oduole. Does it give you confidence that these are individuals? Some
of the names you mentioned actually were moved from one ministry to another.
For their portfolios now, like Dr. Jumoke Oduole is now industry, trade and investment. Does it give you confidence that these are names that indeed over the years have proven their worth?
So you see, when anyone who is being retained by the president, it underscores the president's trust and belief in their performance, right? And this is the reason why he feels they still need time to be with him. Remember, this is just the first reshuffle, you know, of the regime. There are rooms to accommodate more people. There are rooms to also make other changes. But for now, this is what the president wants. And he must have, you know, see based on the reports given to him through their key performance indicators slips presented before him, and obviously from what Nigerians are saying, that these people deserve, you know, to be in this particular ministry instead of the other. So he's just putting the right, you know, after careful review, people in the right place. And the introduction of those new ministries, very, very commendable. I think one of the most commendable thing that I saw in the introduction of the new ministers were the appointment of Bianca Ojukwu and the other lady from Lagos. Brilliant. You need to read her profile. You know,
they were all impressive.
Yeah, she was. I mean, her profile is the most impressive. I don't know her name. There's a lady that they brought from Lagos also that went to Lagos law school or something like that. Okay. She was a lawyer or something like that. You see, I read through her profile and I was impressed with her. Do you understand? So, and then the man from Plateau State, he contested, and obviously we lost in Plateau State. But again, because he has something to offer, the president is, you know, rewarding him and bringing him on board, and then putting him in a ministry that is very strategic, and that is the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs. And I trust that he's also going to perform excellently well.
Okay, so in spite of all of this, Nigerians are telling you we are suffering. Nigerians are complaining bitterly about the high cost of governance. They are complaining also about the fact that their purchasing power is so low these days. They can't afford anything. And in some cases, we are seeing that some state governments have still been unable to implement this new minimum wage we keep talking about over and over. Kudos to the ones who have. I hear Kogi State is going as much as 80,000 naira per month, and that's exciting. As an APC chieftain, and you read the room, you get the pulse of the people, how do you feel and how do you comfort people to say, or what do you even get to say to them? Because I know that this doesn't end it. This is an administration that I know the FPC is also gearing up maybe to continue and all of that. How have you been faring? Okay.
The topic you just raised is a very sensitive one. As an APC chieftain and also somebody who was very instrumental, you know, in the emergence of the president, who was a member of the Presidential Campaign Council, I can only identify with Nigerians and acknowledge our challenges, and also appeal to all Nigerians to understand the reforms that are being taken by the presidents are born out of good faith. The president means well for Nigerians and all the citizens, and the things that he has actually boldly taken steps to address are things that ought to have been done.
Okay,
you understand?
Can you hold your thoughts? We have a caller here who wants to contribute. Hello there, good evening. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good evening.
Yes, what's your name and where are you calling us from?
Okay, my name is Honorable Sylvester. I'm calling from Abakaliki, Ebonyi State.
Please go ahead with your question or contribution.
Well, my contribution is that the gentleman there is representing himself. He is not representing the interests of Nigerians.
How do you mean?
Because we know the truth. We are feeling the pain. We know what we are passing through. What is presenting to us is complete fallacy. Nigerians are suffering. If you have access to the president, we should go and see the president, and Nigerians are suffering.
But he did admit that
they are doing.
Right.
That's my contribution. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your contribution. So the gentleman from Ebonyi State thinks that Nigerians are suffering, and that is why you know when I asked that question, I knew that it must be really tough.
Yes, it is a tough one, and it is also it is also good to actually talk about it, because it helps, you know, to deliberate and also find the best possible way to collectively, you know, provide solutions for our challenges that we are being faced with. Some are self-inflicted, you know, some are as a result of the transformations that is being undertaken by the regime. Some are basically global in nature.
Okay.
And all of them work interdependently and brought us to where we are today. One thing that I acknowledged with Nigeria is that the combination of these three is actually putting Nigeria on a serious discomfort, right? But again, in between these three, you know, the president must come up with something. These reforms has to be done. Do you understand?
So it is necessary.
It is a necessary thing that had to be.
When you say these reforms, just name a few that you are referring to.
No, the reforms are there. What the Nigerians are talking about is there. You know, everybody is talking about the removal of fuel subsidy. The floating of the naira. Okay. You know, when you hear removal of fuel subsidy, the first thing that will come to your mind is the burden of responsibility that will be transferred to the people. You know, and again, on the other hand, there are few who have been milking the country, you know, have been taken away from the same masses that are supposed to be benefiting from this subsidy. And then again, the recklessness of the previous regimes had also put us into a serious debt crisis. So physical reforms became necessary, not because the president is happy or is enjoying what Nigerians are going through. Remember, globally, there are few wars that are already ongoing that are affecting the flows and the outflow of things into the West African region. Nigeria has a population of over 230 million. It's a big market. You can imagine the things that come into this country and the things that go out of this country. Do you understand? Okay. So, and then there is the currency of transaction. You understand? The dollar. And some of these things are being determined by international markets. You understand? And the international market determinants, they are very, very conformed to forces of demand and supply. Right. Unlike you know, when you talk about your own country, where your presidents or your government will say, okay, you know what, let me put some measure here, and there, you know, and put some incentives for my own people not to feel the pain. You understand? But again, at the global level, things don't look at that way, and that's this challenge that even Dangote is actually facing. Okay. Some of the derivatives, some of the inputs that he gets, other than crude, are determined by international markets. Okay. So most of the time Nigerians will look at, okay, fine, we are buying crude in naira. So why do we have to go through all this? Remember, we're talking about 2.something or more than $1 trillion, you know, business that he has invested. He has taken money from banks, you know, combined with his own equity portion, you know, to be able to push. And there are responsibility and obligations on some of these things that he needs. Honorable
Adamu Dauda, we really have to go, but thank you so much for your thoughts on these very important issues. I know that it wouldn't be easy for the likes of you trying to communicate this over and over to Nigerians, especially when the economy is biting.
To be patient with Mr. President. Mr. President has a very good intention for us. And somehow somebody once told me, said, the president is blessed. You know, you can't be a president of Nigeria where almost everything is provided for you and you derive pleasure in seeing you suffer. In no way. Or you think that he's trying to enrich himself. All the wealth that he needs, the country has already provided him with everything. He is concerned about everybody and is concerned about everything that is going on. And by the grace of God, we will overcome all of this.
Thank you so much, Honorable Adamu Dauda, APC Chieftain. I know he is also the National Coordinator, APC National Stability Project. Thank you so much for being part of the program.
Thank you. It's good to be with you.
But this is where we draw the curtains on this show this evening. My name is Joy Asane. Keep a date with us tomorrow. We'll be back for more.